Yo, what is up guys, Grim here, and in today's video I thought I'd give you guys a sneak peek at the low investment, low maintenance Alch and Go strategy which I've been running and working on for the past few days. So it's no secret that low maintenance, low investment strategies are crucially in demand right now, so I thought I'd push this out here and give it to you ASAP so you can get into the farm and try it out yourselves and maybe even give me a bit of feedback. Alright, so what is the strategy? Well, it's a little bit of a different take on Eldritch altar farming. So Eldritch altar farming is nothing new and it's very, very popular, but most people like to run Eldritch altar farming on very, very short maps where they can find the boss and dispose of it very, very quickly. It's called boss rushing. Now the reason players want a boss rush is so that they can make it so that all altars after the boss dies don't offer boss rewards anymore, and they offer exclusively minion and global rewards, which are the best rewards. Now that's definitely something that we still want to do in our new strategy. However, the small map layouts is something that I've been thinking quite a little bit about. So Eldritch monsters which spawn in maps, in my opinion and from what I've tested, are tied to the amount of monsters that actually normally spawn in the map. So if you have a very small density map like a city square or a mesa, well, you're not going to get many Eldritch monsters. And the way Eldritch altars, which are the big money makers, actually spawn is they have a chance to spawn after you slay an Eldritch monster. It's a really small chance. So the more Eldritch monsters you can slay, the more chances you'll get at altars. And obviously, when you get an altar, you want the minion rewards, and they give you a chance to drop some really sick loot after you kill every monster after the altar is activated. So the more minions that you have in the map, the higher chances at Eldritch altars, but also the additional monsters that'll be there for you to slay after you get the altars, so even more loot. It's so much better to be slaying monsters with 4 altars active and you still have more and more to slay versus, getting 1 or 2 altars and only having a few monsters to slay. So it stands to reason that you should be looking for the map with the highest density possible naturally, with also having a boss rushable location. So that's exactly what I went to look for, and what I found was Underground Sea. So it's no secret that Underground Sea is a very, very naturally dense map. It has insane amounts of monsters, so much so that you can actually just alch this map, run it with singular focus and some favorites, and you'll infinitely sustain it just like that with no additional juice at all, which is pretty crazy, and that really stands to reason that it is very, very dense. I believe it has somewhere in the figure of 600 to 700 natural monsters, where something like a city square has somewhere in the range of 300 to 400. So it's almost double in some cases depending on the layout spawn, which is very substantial when you convert that over and start to think about Eldritch monsters. Alright, so let's take a look at the actual layout though. How do you run this map? And then we'll talk a little bit about the figures, about how many altars you can expect on average and how that stacks up against the competition about what people are actually running right now and what you can do with that, because there's some pretty interesting stuff that you can synergize with this new take on altars. Alright, let's put an Underground Sea in here. We'll talk about the setup in a little bit here, so don't worry, I just want to get the general idea out there. Alright, so after running hundreds of Underground Seas to test this out, there's 3 different layouts that you can expect to get with Underground Sea. Alright, so there's basically layout 1, 2, and 3. And basically what you're looking for is where you spawn. So there's 3 possible different spawn kind of locations. Each different layout is roughly a diamond, and there's basically just these 3 variations. So if you take a look at where we spawned here, and imagine that we are on the side of a diamond right now, you can identify that we're either on layout 2, which is this one, or layout 3. Now what we're looking for is getting to the boss, which is fairly easy as long as you have phasing and you know which layout you're on. So we're either on layout 2 or 3 right now, which means the boss is either above us or right in front of us. Now this is pretty easy to test because you want to go to the one which is closest first. So if we were on layout 2, we should be heading upwards right now and taking a look. Okay, is the boss up here? Well, it's clearly not up there because there's a wall there right now. So we must be on layout 3, which is this one. So we can easily just run over there now and take a look and see if the boss is there. And we can, make sure that we don't die on the way. We've got 2 altars already. Well, that's just how it goes. And sure enough, here is the boss. So very, very easy to rush it. We've already got 3 altars on the map active, which is pretty damn good. And, we just go ahead and we kill the boss. So I think with this, I've pretty much proven that Underground Sea is incredibly boss rushable. We've already talked about the density. So it is now, in my opinion, one of the top candidates for altar farming. And you can do some pretty interesting stuff from here onwards. All right, so how does Underground Sea stack stack up against smaller maps like Mesa and stuff like City Square in terms of the density and the things that it offers. Alright, so in general, maps like Mesa and City Square, which are currently the main thing people run for altars, give you roughly 1.9 altars on average using red or blue right now. That's kind of what we're talking there in terms of the altar average, which is that's not too bad. Not too bad. People make some pretty good currency from that, and you can get lucky and get a lot of altars, but very often you get one or even none, maybe two. That's kind of where it goes. Now with Underground Sea, I ran a whopping 200 Underground Seas. Actually, it's a little bit over than that, and this will be in the description below. If you want to grab my data and like mess with it, add to it, I encourage you to test it yourself. You do whatever you want to do. You can go ahead and do that, but this is my data. So first of all, I decided to run with red. So the red influence Exarch, and basically I just ran with the traditional, the pack size, 20% pack size here, as well as the Word of the Exarch, and of course the Light of Dawn, and then I also just alch the maps, just straight up alch, nothing else, just alch and go. How many altars did I get? Well, I ran 51 maps and I got an average of 2.88 altars. That's almost an additional altar on average over the common strategies being run right now, with a map which is just as easily, if not in some cases easier, to boss rush, with a pretty okay layout and really good density. You can sustain it without even having to invest. So pretty interesting stuff going on here. Okay, tell me more. Well, we ran blue as well, which is pretty much the same setup. Now, we only got 2.52 altars on average this time. So, okay, well, red does seem to be a little bit better, but, they're pretty damn similar. And most people understand that they've always been pretty similar. Maybe blue is a little bit better if you really super juice hard. But, I would say, run the one that you like the most. I personally like to run red because the currencies are a little bit more expensive. In addition to that, the monsters spawn in immediately, which is just feels a lot better and is a lot more fun for me, and it's also a little bit less dangerous because there's not so many range monsters. But it's pretty close. You're going to be getting significantly more altars using either color than other strategies. Now, okay, well, I started thinking though, I was like, hang on a second. How does influence actually work with Eldritch? So basically the way that Eldritch influence works is you run into the map and basically no Eldritch monsters exist until you trigger the influence. And then seemingly what happens is it scans the map and it'll spawn Eldritch monsters on top of already existing packs in the map. It's pretty easy to test this. So if you run all the way to the Underground Sea map boss and you kill the map boss and then run out and then trigger the Eldritch influence, no monsters will spawn in the boss room. However, if you trigger the Eldritch influence before you enter the boss room and then you enter the boss room, there will be monsters in here which will spawn on the already existing packs. Basically what this means is that any pack in the map which exists after the Eldritch influence triggers may have and has a chance to spawn Eldritch monsters on top of it or adjacent to it. Now this is pretty interesting information because this may lead you to understand that, hang on a second, it's not just having a bigger map, it's not just having higher natural mob count, but also any monster pack that you can get in there naturally might increase the chance of Eldritch monsters to spawn. So that's when I thought about sextants. Sextants, you can get sextants which add additional monster packs to the map. So basically there's ones which add like 6 extra cold monster packs or 6 extra fire monster packs. So I decided I wanted to test that too. So I ran an additional 50 maps with red and 50 maps with blue using 4 monster pack sextants each. And I got a pretty interesting result. So on the blue test, obviously we had a 2.52 average altar, and then with the sextants we had 2.84. So I decided to run red as well to see if that was actually the case still. Well, with red, with no sextants I got 2.88, and with sextants I got 3 average altars. Now of course the sample size isn't big enough. 200 maps isn't exactly the most concrete evidence that we can get, but it does seem like there might be something there. So in general, I would recommend always running sextants with your Eldritch influence, and I'd recommend also, without a shadow of a doubt, trying to pick the highest density monster layout you possibly can with as many natural mob count as possible as well for the best Eldritch altar outcomes. Alright, so now that we understand how to get way more altars on Underground Sea or another similar layout if you want to pick something different, what can you do with that? How does that that synergize with different ways to play? Well, we already know that altars are super lucrative, and getting even more altars and more monsters is going to be even better. So you're going to be making a ton of currency just from Alch and Go and doing altars and selling stuff like Eldritch, embers, scarabs, maps, sextants, all of those drop, and you'll basically be able to almost sustain sextants running this strategy. It's going to be pretty interesting to see how it plays out with all the sextants entering the market. All right, so of course, another thing that you need to be doing is while you're sextanting, which you should be to get the extra altars, you should be capturing all the sextants which you don't want to run. Stuff like Beyond, Ritual altars, anything which you don't want to run, Alva, Jun. These definitely sell for a very nice premium to other players, and you can actually price check these on the fly while you're sextanting using Awakened PoE trade, which is very, very nice. So if you wanted to, price check this, you can go ahead and do so, and you can say, okay, it's 5C, 7C for that one there, which is pretty damn nice, and you can bottle that one up and list it. So your sextants are essentially generating you revenue from the things that you're bottling up and selling, while also doubling and amplifying the amount of altars that you could get based on my data. In addition to that, though, you can obviously run stuff like Wrath of the Cosmos and Eldritch Gaze, but it doesn't stop there. So obviously we know that amping up all the monsters is really great, but there's another multiplier that you can start chasing with Eldritch altar farming as well, and that is the pack size roll on your underground seas or whatever map you decide to go with, which is going to be another more multiplier to the amount of monsters and Eldritch monsters that you can gain access to. So you can see here when I alch a map, I get 20% monster pack size. If you start vialing maps, you can get maps which have up to 40% pack size or even higher. Now that pack size is a direct multiplier on the amount of Eldritch monsters you're going to get, and by extension the amount of Eldritch altars you're going to get, which is pretty good. Now, in addition to that, you can also amp up the map modifiers on your maps using these small nodes here, the 2% increased effect of non-unique map modifiers, which is going to give you even more pack size, quantity, and rarity, which is again going to give you even more juice. Furthermore, you can even go ahead and use stuff like this Shaping the Values passive, which is going to give you an additional 10 pack size for using Fortune Favors the Brave. So you can see here, you get a world in which you could get like 50 to 60% pack size with a properly vialed map using Fortune Favors the Brave, which, that is a ridiculous amount of altars potentially in your maps, and you could come home with a big payday of 40 to 50 Eldritch Embers or Ichas if you get lucky. Definitely very nice. But it doesn't stop there. There's a few different mechanics which actually synergize very well with this Alch and Go playstyle, which really want to take advantage of having a high natural mob count as well as investment into pack size. And the first one I want to talk about here is Harvest. So Harvest is absolutely crazy good money right now on any map that you run it, but it's even better when you stack pack size with it, as well as anything else you want to do with increased item quantity or anything along those lines, which you're already getting additional juice from with this these small nodes. So Harvest scales pretty well with all map modifiers and stuff like that. So if you spec into Harvest and you take all the nodes you possibly can, and you block out all the different league mechanics you don't want, you can get quite a respectable amount of Harvest juice, which you can sell for a big amount. So this is Harvest juice, which I got from farming the 200 underground seas here, and this is a significant amount of currency. Every 32 yellow life force here is worth 1 chaos. So I have 21,500 life force here, divided by 32, that's 671 chaos of life force just there from those yellow life force there that I've got from running Harvest in Alch and Go. This is a substantial amount of currency. In addition to that, there's also another mechanic I'd really like to point out. Expedition also scales with pack size and is also very good when you're running Fortune Favors the Brave, because it is actually a map modifier on the Kirak modifier this league. So you can get Expedition for free while running Fortune Favors the Brave, stacking on top of your pack size. It can be very lucrative. Furthermore, there is also one more that I'd like to throw in as an honorable mention and maybe even a very good pick, and that is Ritual. So the insane thing about Ritual is that if you have enough favor, you can start to do some pretty wacky purchases using the Ritual window. The more favor you have, the more you can extract from it, and Ritual overall benefits from pack size out of everything. You want as much pack size as possible, and we're already speccing into getting as much pack size as possible to maximize our juice from the Eldritch altars. Underground Sea is a great layout from it. Boss rushing is something you already want to do from Ritual, so it also has a very nice synergy with this strategy. So we've got massive Eldritch altar juice, boss rushing, Underground Sea, stack that on top of either Expedition, Harvest, or Ritual, and you might have a pretty solid strategy here. Now, I'm not sold on any of these accompaniments just yet. I'm still in the testing phase, but I figured you guys would want to hear about this early and get in on the ground floor and maybe see if you can get a bit of this strategy juice going here yourself and maybe do something a little bit new which you haven't done in a few leagues and try out the old UGS. Alright. So I'm going to be testing all of 3 of those different options live. We're going to have full loot breakdowns in some videos coming up. Make sure you let me know which one you guys want me to do first. You know, any tips, any tricks, anything you guys have found, make sure you comment down below. We'll be doing these all on stream live over on Twitch TV. I'll post my stream times down below. I'm going to give you guys a bit of a link to this Atlas Passage tree though, so if you want it, you can grab it, and you guys can obviously also take a look at my setup here. Basically all I'm using is 3 sack frags, an Elder Scarab, Underground Sea, and then Rolling Fortune Favors the Brave. Now, I've actually tested this without the Elder Scarab, without the Sacrificial Fragments, and with no sextants. You can actually sustain just fine. There will be no issues. Now, the loot does come in waves. You will be getting stuff like a lot of Embers or a lot of Ichors all at once, and then you'll have maps where you're a little bit dry. That's all the nature of the beast. Harvest has been great to me, but there's also opportunity for the other mechanics, so we'll just have to see how it plays out. Hope you guys enjoyed this video and this sneak peek at Grim's new strat. We're going to be working on this one for some time, but until next time or over on the stream, I'll see you guys then. Cheers.